What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Today on the show, I want to talk about what the hell is going on with Tampa Bay for a little bit, what John Wall had to say on the No Chill podcast, and somehow he thinks that his era is softer than Gilbert Arenas' era, and I got to put that in check. Be joined by my best friend Ron to talk about those things here in a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Oklahoma's defense and how November just seems to be Lincoln Riley's month, and I want to get to, of course, the headline, because everybody hates it when you don't get to the headline, which is Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask. Who's your QB1 going into the NFL draft? Man, I love rhyming. So let's start with this. Let's start with what the hell is going on at LSU, because as many of you know, I have read Flip the Script. It's Ed Orgeron's book, written by Bruce Feldman, and there's a bit about that I want to get into, which is the courting of Joe Burrow, in which we get a real understanding of what it's like to be recruited by Ed Orgeron when he really, like the OJs, got to have it. Got to have you, baby, because he understood he didn't have a quarterback. He didn't have a quarterback going in 2018. As much as people really loved Justin McMillan, as much as they came to love Miles Brennan, he didn't have a quarterback. And everybody knew that, right? And so Joe committing to LSU was a big deal. And then Joe turned out to be who Joe is. But now we're talking about LSU might have to forfeit the Alabama game. I use forfeit and not cancel for a number of different reasons. Let's start with this. They don't have an open date left. They already had to do this once with Florida. They got to play that Florida game. But you can make the argument that they really need to play that West Division game for the sake of the SEC West. Now, Florida beating Georgia and beating everybody else in the SEC East, that's going to matter, right? If you are Alabama, do you need this LSU game? No. Do we think you need this LSU game? Hell nah. Does Texas A&M want you to have this LSU game? 100%. And I think there's the rub, because LSU ain't the LSU that they thought they were going to be in 2020. They're the LSU I thought they were going to be in 2020. They're going to catch these 5 losses, even if it's a forfeit to Alabama. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying that the whole time. Then we got Ed Orgeron coming out talking about, look, we had some guys catch the COVID during a bye week. Okay, that's number one. Number two, they already didn't have the scholarships to go around for this, dog. Like, they lost a bunch of kids to opt out. They lost even more to transfer. They're down in the high 60s when we were talking about their scholarship distribution chart as it is, and they're super thin at defensive back. And then you got Ed Orgeron talking about, yeah, not only we throw it thin at defensive back, but it affected the QB room. He wouldn't say which kids in the QB room, but you could probably estimate that the true freshmen have something to do with that. That'd be Max Johnson and TJ Finley. TJ Finley, who played really good football in Miles Brennan's stead, but the quarterback situation ain't their problem, right? I got my own things with Miles Brennan, but that ain't the problem. That ain't where we at right now. We're at, can you field, one, a team, and two, is Bo Pelini going to get fired after his first year in Louisiana? Or I should say his first year back in Louisiana, because that's on the table. The spread going into this week is 23 points for Alabama. 23 to cover the spread against LSU. The same LSU team that beat them last year. And you know they will want nothing more than to just go sun the LSU Tigers this Saturday. Texas A&M would love for LSU to not only be able to play this game, but to pull off the upset that nobody thinks that they can pull off. And I'm with that. I'm so here for that, because Ampersand U has been playing pretty damn good football. But here's the thing. Ampersand U would not just need a loss from LSU, a loss from Alabama against LSU. They'd also need at least one more loss, because Texas A&M lost the head-to-head to Alabama. I understand there are folks that believe that Texas A&M can still make the New Year's Six Bowl in the Cotton Bowl, but let me throw a wrench in that. If Notre Dame beats Clemson, you're screwed. Like, if Notre Dame beats Clemson in the ACC championship game, we're literally talking about Florida, Cincy being right there ready to suck up and go into that number 4 spot and take that Oklahoma spot of getting beat down. Meanwhile, Oklahoma's sitting pretty because November's shaping up to just be for them once again. But getting back to LSU, they got even more problems, right? Because you got Coy Moore, who went to the Twitters to let everybody know what it really was. Now, I want to unpack that because I think that's important. I think that's really important in this age that we're in right now. We got a new president-elect in the United States of America, for all of y'all that have tuned in from Nova Scotia and Bangladesh and, Neptune. For those of y'all, just cluing into that. I'm glad I could deliver that news to you. Yes, Joe Biden is president-elect. Corey Moore alleged that he was harassed by Baton Rouge police on social media on Sunday. And then he released a statement saying that he was violated by police who approached him saying they were looking for guns and drugs on him. He didn't say he didn't have a gun. Like, he said it, I don't have a gun. They said, where's your gun? He kept saying, I don't have it. His quote here, I was violated numerous times, even as going as far as trying to unzip my pants in search of a weapon that I repeatedly told them I did not have. As I tried to go live for video documentation of the harassment, they snatched my phone. I could have, what he meant to say, I could have lost my life. And I know for a fact nothing would have happened to the guys who did it. As some celebrate the election of a new president, understand the problems that we face have not changed. If I didn't tell those incompetent officers that I was an LSU football player, there's no telling if I would have been here to tell the story. Corey Moore is an outstanding wide receiver. He's got, I think, 8 catches for 70 yards this season. And last year, coming out of, I believe it's, I don't even want to mess that up. I know it's Louisiana, but I don't want to mess up where he is from. I'll just look it up. Because I want to say that it's Kenner, but I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat, hit me up with that if you're in here. Because I know that the LSU folks has probably got something to say about all of this. All to say, I'm with Corey Moore on this, and I understand that that's a much bigger deal. Those police officers, as I read reports, have been put on paid leave, and we'll see where that goes. But if you're Ed Orgeron, this is not the script that you wanted to flip. That just won't be what it is, right? That they can't, no. Ed Orgeron is actually having a coach for his life. Now, that's wild, because, like, I heard the dude came in here, and now his chair's just spinning. Okay. So, to that end, if you're Ed Orgeron, what's the move now? The move now is to cancel this game against Alabama, where if you got your 53 men, you know you're still going to get railroaded. And who's going, what you got to serve about that, right? Maybe you want to put it on television. It's supposed to be a big game because it's Masters weekend in November, but don't nobody want to get embarrassed on television. Maybe you want to just go play, and I get that, but play who? And play what? For who? For what? So you can catch more COVID, and you can be on national television getting embarrassed once again because Bo Pelini's going to get ran. Steve Sarkisian looking to get Bryce Young as many snaps as he possibly can. On top of all of this, and this is where I do want to bring in my best friend, Ron Taylor, we had the Notre Dame incident. And I didn't get to address this in the live stream yesterday, but I need to address it today. The Notre Dame incident is not the 47-40 double overtime upset of Clemson in South Bend. It's not Kyron Williams running for over 100 yards. It's not Travis Etienne getting stuffed. It's not Ian Book going for over 300 yards and putting on the game of his life. It is winning the game and then watching an already small crowd attending the game in Notre Dame Stadium rush the damn field in the age of COVID. So, Ron, I'm on national radio basically doing analysis of this game in and out because it just hijacked like the whole 2.5 hours that we were on because he went into double overtime. And I got to tell you, we're watching this like I got it on the YouTube TVs, right? And I'm going, no, they're not. Do not storm the... Oh, no! And then today, we got the dude in charge at Notre Dame talking about, hey, number one, we expect y'all to be better than that. Number two, every last one of y'all going to have to get COVID tested. Otherwise, there's going to be a hold on your semester cards. And number three, don't worry about me. I attended, the Rose Garden at the White House without a mask in what is the most high-profile maskless event in the history of the COVID. But I'm going to be out here saying, do as I say, not as I do. I know you got feelings about this. What are they?
That you don't really prepare to as an organization to be the number one team in the country. That you hope that it happens, but when it does, it just fills you with such joy that you are compelled to celebrate the way that we always celebrate is by rushing the field. This is kind of one of those situations where you tell people, well, when coaches tell us that you got to prepare to win, that you got to walk through the steps, you have to act like you've been there before. Hey, Notre Dame just got caught up, and they are feeding the chaos god because because if something comes from this, we will look. We're going to look directly into the middle of this celebration. And go like, yeah, that's what happened. That's why Notre Dame had to take 2 games off. That's why they can't make up any games on the schedule. Oh, that's tough.
So I'm gonna pop back in just to say that Coy Moore is from Metairie, Louisiana. Ron, you got family in Louisiana. Did I say that right?
Sounds right to me.
Okay, cool. Let's go with that. True freshman, I was cold on. I got that right. I know the dude was the truth coming out last year, but I just want to pop back in and let everybody know that my man is from Louisiana and he is used to how to get him in these streets. But to pick up on your point, getting caught up in the moment, one of the things that I've been fascinated by is how people are just willing to let it go from the student's perspective. Talk about they college kids. Nah, man, you got a driver's license. Okay? You get to vote. Half of y'all can drink. More than half of y'all don't even stay on campus. Like, we can't call y'all adults and treat y'all like kids. It's one or the other. And in this country, you turn 18, you are an adult. I need to find out some charges been leveled or something, because that was ridiculous. I couldn't stand that. Now, if Notre Dame loses the Boston College game to COVID, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen, that might be in their best interest, because Boston College looked every bit like they was going to beat up on Clemson and then just lost hold of an 18-point lead and a 15-point lead at halftime to lose to DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson, who also put up over 450 against Notre Dame's secondary. So as good as their front seven was, they was giving up the booty on the back end. All right, now go ahead.
Got a question.
Please.
Is that did we change pronunciation of DJ's name? Because I could have swore that we were stressing the back end. Uiagalelei. Is it Uiagalelei? Is that what we're doing?
As the dude that made the Uiagalelei video and wrote the FoxSports.com story about one DJ Uiagalelei, I'm going to give myself both pronunciations.
Okay.
I know this.
Some days I might have missed an email.
When he says it, right? Luhlay. Luhlay. But see, people get tripped up on the ooey and then because that just come out of nowhere, right? Everybody down with the ooey, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was listening to Sticky Icky. Everybody was listening to Chicken and Beer. We got the ooey. We know what the ooey is. It's that and then you got to come out with the guh. No, you don't come out with the guh. You come out with the straight to the lay, right? That's what's hard, right? Because it's double clutching. You know what I mean? It's double clutching. Yeah. That's what it is. And you got to practice. Shout out to Mike Tirico, who did practice and looked and sounded good. Matter of fact, I'm watching USC Arizona State, and it's a fascinating game. It's a game that USC should have lost. Arizona State should have won. It is the Clay Helton experience at USC and microcosm. The Great Escape. They should be dead. They should be graveyard dead. And then they're the team that recovers an onside kick, and they're the team that converts a fourth and like 18 into a touchdown to win the game. I was so pissed because I had USC straight up, right? I had USC straight up. Anyway, after that, right, I'm thinking, well, I guess Gus can take this as a win. And why would I give a broadcaster a win in a game when he didn't play? Because Gus was hyped that he had all the Polynesian names down. Gus was super hype. And you know what? I would have been super hype. Gus was in the weight room practicing these names. And as a person that has been messing up names and having to go back and look, matter of fact, I memorized Whop Philyor's name. You know Whop Philyor's name? Like his given name? First, I got to tell you a story about Whop Philyor's name. Whop comes from his parents, who nicknamed him Whop, W-H-O-P, not W-A-P, although that would be something else too. Because Man would walk into the restaurant at the Burger King with his family. And Man was not here for the junior meal. Man wanted the Whopper. And they said, look, boy, you too small for the Whopper. He said, give me the Whopper. So they got that man the Whopper, and that man ate the whole Whopper. So now they've been calling that man Whop ever since. So much so that his daddy even took on Big Whop, and he's Little Whop. But this man's given name is super cold-blooded. Mr. Elias D'Angelo Filior. Now, my first name was Mr. because I know a couple of black folks named Mr. I would go by Mr. Just like Captain, right? Just like Sir. They call me Sir. You know what I mean? This man decided to go out here with WAP. So I went ahead and I just memorized his government name because I thought that was a lot more fun. Just like Sindarian Lamb is CD Lamb. You know what I mean? Do you know Ahmad Rashad's birth name?
Oh, isn't it Wild Long? I don't know. No, I have no idea.
First of all, it's a trick question because as soon as you change your name, it becomes your birth name legally. So his birth name is Ahmad Rashad. But his parents named him in the way that Muhammad Ali's parents named him, Cassius Marcellus Clay, Bobby Moore. Ahmad Rashad's name is Bobby Moore. Like that's what he played at Oregon with. By the way, my man, catching
he absolutely made the right decision.
Yeah, well, right. Plus, you married Felicia Rashad, so you stay winning. You stay winning. You know, like Ahmad Rashad walking around with brilliant skin, 70 years old, having a good time, being best friends with Michael Jordan, played Pac-12 football at the highest level, played NFL football, reinvented himself as an NBA broadcaster and the best friend of his airness. Yeah, but we got here talking about names, talking about Uiagalelei, talking about Notre Dame and the COVID. So now, if you have Boston College, UNC, both teams that can beat Notre Dame, and it would be super Notre Dame to lose to either of those teams. But even so, right? Let's assume Notre Dame gets in the ACC championship against Clemson. I think we're already banking on Clemson winning that game because I have Trevor Lawrence back, Tyler Davis back, Mike Jones back, James Skalski back. But what if Notre Dame was to win this game in Charlotte and win an ACC championship in their only year in the ACC? Then we're looking at Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and then who's the fourth best team? Cincy? Would you see Cincinnati in there?
Yeah. I would have to throw Cincinnati in there because I have this. I should probably get rid of it, but I believe in a little bit of fairness. Since he's putting in a lot of work, they've been doing well, and a lot of other squads have been affected by the chaos god so far. So I mean, if somebody shows up undefeated, go ahead and give it to them. What argument would you have? Okay. Like what real emotional argument would you have against it?
BYU is undefeated.
That's right.
Liberty is undefeated. Coastal Carolina is undefeated. And then, of course, you got, as I said, Cincy. So, like, you got four teams that feel like they got a legitimate shot at this thing. Now, BYU's schedule is trash, so they're not getting in. They're just not. Not based around what the rules are today. And the rules are today that committee gets to pick the four best teams. Whatever they think the four best teams are, right? And they give themselves a lot of leeway with this criteria as to what the four best teams are, which is another way of saying if they lose a game against, or Ohio State loses a game against Wisconsin to COVID outbreak, they're probably not going to get penalized for it by the college football playoff. Just as the college football playoff selection committee is probably not going to penalize Clemson for losing this game to Notre Dame, right? All to say, if you're looking at SMU, they got one loss. If you're looking at Cincy, they got to just run the table and they got to beat up on everybody. But even that's not a guarantee because Central Florida did that. And they didn't want Central Florida in there. They wanted one-loss Georgia in there. Turned out to be the team that made the national championship game. So BYU, I'd say it's out. I don't want to see Liberty in there. I would love to see Liberty and BYU play against each other in a bowl game, though. One, I get a holy war. Two, one of them is going to claim a national championship. And do you know how insufferable the church is with a national championship? I'm not even making that like religious. I mean, like Notre Dame winning a national championship is insufferable. Okay? Because you got to go to church with people all the time. It's going to be talking about what kind of national championship they won. And they're going to feel in too loose and sizzling talking about what national championship they won. I can't imagine how insufferable Lynchburg, Virginia would be to Hokies fans and Who's.
I would love to hear from anybody that was alive in really adult alive in 1984 to listen to how BYU reacted when they were given the national championship. Because
at the very least, right? Off a Holiday Bowl.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, and that, I mean, yeah, I would be insufferable too if I could be able to claim a national championship off a Holiday Bowl. But if, like, at the very least, BYU has one, and BYU has been good. I think the most insufferable team to give a national championship would absolutely be Liberty. Liberty is insufferable now, away from basketball, away from baseball, away from football. They're already pretty insufferable. If you give them a national championship and allow them to say, yes, to fold this into some sort of sermon, so no, I can't. I can't do it.
They should have lost.
So yeah, that one.
They
gotta give the BYU. They should have lost to La Tech.
Well, here's the thing. And outside of this, nobody's actually given this some thought because the Pac-12 just started their season like literally 3 days ago. But has anybody given any thought to USC and what they might actually do to this playoff system if they run the table? Because SC played what I thought was the toughest opponent on their schedule in Arizona State to start. They should have lost the game. They won the game. Their toughest game left Colorado, UCLA, Arizona. Like, the team they got to play in the Pac-12 North ain't nobody. Ain't nobody. It's Washington State. That ain't nobody. Then you get Oregon, perhaps, in the Pac-12 championship game. And if by some miracle, the Trojans beat Oregon, and the Trojans are 7-0, 8-0, and you don't let them into the playoff, do you know the carnage that will be done by Pac-12 truthers about this college football playoff and the conspiracy against it?
Like, I hear it, but everybody that's been that's been talking about the Pac-12 in season previews, they've all made it very clear in the very first paragraphs, like, they've started late. Whoever wins the conference, whoever decides to be good in the Pac-12 has to absolutely show out. They got to be the greatest show on turf, because they're going to roll into teams that are just going to be idle at undefeated. And I don't know what the I don't know what the case that you make for a USC team that's got there late and it's looking at all these other possible undefeated teams. I mean, you say like, oh, well, they're good. Let's say USC is like, USC is undefeated. It's like, yeah, but they struggled against this team. This game was close, and all these teams weren't even any good.
It would be 2018 Notre Dame all over again, which would kind of be full circle, because if USC had just closed the door on Notre Dame when they had a shot to close the door on Notre Dame, could have gone 6-6 instead of 5-7. We wouldn't have had to deal with Notre Dame playing a de facto ACC championship game against Clemson, in which they got railroaded 30-3. Meanwhile, we could see the weakest team among the undefeated teams actually make the playoff because they play in a Power 5 league. Think about that. Cincy's probably a better football team than SC. BYU wants every bit of SC. Liberty's probably a 3-point or maybe like a funky number 4-point dog to SC. But ain't none of those teams that's under. Coastal Carolina wants all the smoke from SC. All the smoke. I can't imagine how much more stupid we would all look and be if SC was the 4th best team voted on by the College Football Playoff Committee because they play in the damn Pac-12. All because Notre Dame, or not Notre Dame, Oregon somehow could not beat an SC, assuming they're there at the end. Because, like, what little bit I was able to catch up Oregon and Stanford, because I was on the radio, Oregon's offensive line looked good. Tyler Shuck looked good. They look like a Mario Cristobal football team, which is, say, an SEC West football team. But that's the other thing. What if Oregon runs the table, right? Oregon runs the table. They go undefeated. Do they get in the Pac-12? Do they get in the college football playoff over an undefeated Cincinnati? Hell yeah, because they a Power 5 team. That's why they call themselves a Power 5 team. That's why they actually play in a Power 5 conference. That's why the Pac-12 continues to push all this data to the table. Be like, look, Power 5, Group of 5. We made the college football playoff for the Power 5. We were stupid, as there are 5 conferences, and we only have 4 slots when we should have had 6 to begin with, because Notre Dame. But now that we here, we back in, baby. We want in. We Oregon. Remember, we the only team to ever represent in the playoff era coming out of Pac-12. Let us in. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Arizona State going, y'all couldn't. All y'all had to do was finish. They was absolutely destroying. Like everybody watched the Mike Leach tape that Barry Odom put together for Arkansas. Said, you know what? We're going to play a real soft cover 2. And we dare you to beat it. And you know what's debilitating about running air raid against cover 2? If I don't have anybody that can throw down the seams, right, all I'm doing is dumping the ball off.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're just trying to test my patience. Hey, Ron, you know I ain't got that kind of patience. I'm an air raid quarterback. I'm trying to yank this ball. And they was like, no, Antonio Pierce, Marvin Lewis is like, nope, dump it. You can throw 400 yards, but you're going to throw for 400 yards, 6 yards at a time.
Oh, yeah. I hope your arm is rested because you be slinging that about 70 times.
Just, and they putting the ball on the ground. Like, it was stupid, that game. All right. So I want to get off of that. I want to get on to something a little bit more, I think, friendly to Ron's high school, college sensibilities. So
that's a long period. I just want you guys to know that's a real long period.
John Wall went on a No Chill podcast to talk to Gilbert Arenas. One of the things that John Wall said to Gilbert Arenas, a lot of guys be too friendly now. Like Arenas' era, they weren't friendly. They tried to rip each other's throats and heads off. All right. First, I said, okay, what's Gilbert Arenas' era? Because I got to remember that man damn near 40. So Gilbert Arenas comes out in 01. Richard Jefferson, off top of my head in that draft. Right? Kwame Brown, I think, is the number 1 overall pick. And his best season, like 05, 06, averaged 29 on a team that won 42 games. Do you remember who won the 2006 NBA title?
06, was that Miami, LA?
It's Miami.
Dallas?
Miami.
Okay.
Who was led by Dwayne Wade and Shaq. Two of the friendliest, no stuff talkingest, I'm going to hug you up, bro, dudes of all time. But somehow John Wall remembers it as being some sort of, I don't know, 1993 era's basketball, 1984. Like, I'm trying to figure out where this dude is coming from with this. And maybe it's just because he has not played, like, NBA basketball in such a long time.
I think it might be, if I had to take a guess, it was probably because there was more people parked in the paint, if you were to talk about from the turn of the 21st century. Like, yeah, like we still had tall trees and Twin Towers and Shaq and Andrew Bynum and a whole bunch of Dwight Howard. So it's like, yeah, like I guess you could make the case that it was slightly more physical, but like the rules didn't have such a drastic change. The people's approaches towards defense weren't so different. I guess the Celtics won. When did they win?
2011? 08? Gotta be.
Anyway, you do the research on that one. Like, they thugged people a little bit. The Detroit Pistons, they absolutely were a little bit grit and grindy, just like Memphis was. I guess it's just a matter of degrees. Like, I don't want to say the league is real soft right now, but it's real open, right? Thank you. So people shoot from distance more. Like, everything's more 1 in 4 out. Like, a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of dribble drives. So like, yeah, it's, I think by strategy less physical as opposed to like tough.
I was about to say, you got more
than by people.
You got more dudes over 6'5" shooting threes than anybody ever imagined in their life. Like, the logo is now just a regular shot. You used to get drugged. You tried to, even at the Y, rec league, you try to put that shot up, you get drugged. Verbally, physically. You might not actually see the floor for the rest of the game. You playing organized basketball. Now they just pull it up because that's what they do. Matter of fact, I just pulled up 07-08 NBA season summary on Basketball Reference, right? So you see Boston is the league champ, but so much is the same. Like, Kobe's the MVP, 28, 6, and 5. Kevin Durant's the Rookie of the Year, right? So winning awards, 24 and 2. LeBron James led the league in points, 30 a game, right there on the nose. Dwight Howard, rebounding leader, 14 a game. Chris Paul is your win share leader, 17.8, and your assist leader, 11.6. Like, I know that they're old. I know that they're 3-4 years from retiring. At least Chris Paul is going to play out the rest of his contract because he'd be stupid not to. But so much of the league is the same, right? Arenas is still in the league, right? He's still actually balling. I want to say like 05, 06, 07, those years were his best. Let me make sure. 05, 06, he averages 29 a game. 06, 07, he averages 28 a game. Okay, and then 04, 05, he averaged 25 a game. And then he fell off. 19 a game in 07, 08. Never averaged more than 23, 22.6 for the rest of his career. But it's also, Gilbert Arenas, which comes with its own set of asterisks everywhere. Not the least of which is, I don't know that we would be friends. I don't know we'd be friends. But I wanted to bring that to you because a growing criticism of this league has been how soft it is. And yet I'm going, it didn't look that soft in the bubble. I saw dudes banging in the bubble. Like, I saw Bam Adebayo was giving everybody business. Giannis Antetokounmpo got hurt. Like, dudes get socked in the face. Like, what's soft about this league?
No, like like this. I'm never going to be one of those people that says the league is soft. It's just the way that you play ball. Like, I mean, I'm sure the pro handshakers out there is like, yeah, man, ball in the 80s was real tough. It's like, yeah, but they didn't shoot none. Everybody was packed in the paint. Even if you were even with the illegal defense, like folks were still shooting jumpers from the elbows, drawing up plays for it, like backing down in the paint. Like there was not a lot of space. Like you could have the Jordan rules because ain't nobody shooting threes. If Jordan, like, and I get on Jordan all the time. Like, yes, that's right. I get on Jordan because that's my pet, whatever. But if Jordan wanted to shoot threes, he would shoot threes, and he would put in the same amount of work as everybody else. That's good right now. And if he did that, he would have so many free lanes to the basket. He didn't have to because the league didn't require it. He didn't require it, so he just went to the rim. So that's why you have Jordan rules. It's like no easy layups, right? Or no layups, right? If there was only one dude that he had to beat, or better yet, there was only one dude guarding him as he went to the rim, we would all say that it would all have the exact same image of like James Harden go to the rim because who's there to meet him?
Ooh, what do you think about that rumor? James Harden to Philly.
Last I heard about it, that Houston was not entertaining the offer.
I mean,
but
Houston.
If you want to give up James Harden, who I think is perennial, he's going to continue to be a perennial All-Star or NBA MVP candidate. You're going to give up. You're going to give up your entire team because you trade Ben Simmons for him. You get Ben Simmons and the rest of the bench.
I mean, what?
I guess.
What are you giving up though? Like
Philly doesn't like. It's all it does is benefit Philly. I don't know how it benefits Houston.
Look, I'm not gonna turn this into the BS report and go messing with the trade machine. I'm just gonna say you want to put Ben Simmons on the block with literally anybody not named Joel Embiid for James Harden. I'm gonna take your money. Because I do subscribe to the theory that whoever got the best player in the trade won the trade. And you're going to give me quite literally a walking bucket for a dude that will not shoot at the bucket. Yes, damn it. Make that happen. As soon as I found out like that was actually sniffing in a thing, I'm going, what is taking the friggin' Sixers so long? Why? Make that happen. Go rob Tillman Fertitta, please. For this dude that will not shoot.
All right, if we're not thinking about it like basketball, we're just thinking about assets. If everybody wants to just flip assets, if a media company wants to become a shipping company, and a shipping company wants to become a media company, let it happen.
Don't you do that to me.
Fine.
I hate that. I hate that asset conversation BS. Bunch of white dudes that don't run. Even the white dudes that do run. I don't know any bros that talk about this stuff like assets. These players. Why are you rolling your eyes?
I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm just saying that if you want to switch the teams like that, go ahead, because that's what you would be doing. That's why I'm saying is asset flipping is because if Philly wants to be Houston,
right?
Fine, let them. Fine, cool. If Houston wants to be Philly, cool, fine.
Who's your general manager? Who's your general manager in Philly? Who do you think it is? Let's start with that. Who do you think it is? Because I know who it is.
I'm checking the ghost of Sam Hinkie.
Nah, man. I'll give you the biggest hint.
You know, I got the internet. I'm not even entertaining this. Who is this?
Moneyball. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's what's his name? Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it's him. It's Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. It's him. It's Daryl Morey. Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey. Of course you want to trade for James Harden. Of course you do. But here's the other thing. Like, what else? Like, what? The knock on that dude remains a knock on that dude. Does Doc Rivers make them a better basketball team? Because that's the only thing that's changed. And what I've learned about Doc Rivers is that he's going to let y'all try to figure this out for yourselves. He's not actually going to get in there if y'all trying to squab, which means that you're still the Sixers. Like you were saying, if the Sixers want to be the Rockets want to be the Sixers, you're still the Sixers because Joel Embiid is still ready to steal on James Harden. You know that. Who's going to break up the fight? It ain't going to be Doc. Who's going to break up the fight? Whose team is it if James Harden gets traded to the Philadelphia 76ers? Whose team is it?
Whoever puts up the most points. Whoever brings in the most ad money. Whoever sells the most jerseys.
Okay, so 2006 Miami. Whose team was it?
Ended up being D-Wade's team.
Okay. All right. Ask Shaq about that.
I mean, okay, fine. Wade's still shooting free throws from that finals, all right? So it's like it's his.
But I mean, if James Harden is still shooting free throws for the Sixers, and he will be, is it his team or is it Joel Embiid? Is it the process's team? I mean, you got Wolf Blitzer calling elections talking about trust the process. We're talking about Philadelphia electoral votes. Like, come on, man.
Everybody's down on the process. So, like, if it comes down to will it be the process's team? No, Phillies go ahead and throw batteries at that. Like, we're done with that.
Oh my God. All right. So I thought that was all fascinating and interesting because talking about the fringes and the edges of the NBA is more fun than actually necessarily. Well, it's not more fun talking about the basketball being played, but it is fun. It's a lot of fun. Like, I'm still waiting on the Bubble documentary that somebody gonna drop. Because that's going to be a lot of fun to just watch. See what some of these dudes were doing. I bet Amazon had, like, their own distribution shitter. Like, right there.
See, what's going to happen with that Bubble documentary is what's going to happen is we're going to have a Vince Carter-style exit for it. It's going to be Jamal Murray. Did you know he's the last player still playing that was in the bubble? And as soon as he hits the retire button, then that documentary is going to come out. So
that's the behind the music? That's what that is?
Yeah, so we got a strong 20 years. Yep.
Yeah, I might not be around for that. What else did I have on this rundown? Let's get at the headline because this is normally where I would put the mid-roll. All right, so the headline is QB1. You got 4 choices. You got Trevor Lawrence, you got Mac Jones, you got Kyle Trask, you got Justin Fields. Who do you take at number 1 if you're the New York Jets?
I'm taking Justin Fields. Dude just feels real good, looks real good, throws real good, shows a lot of patience, has a big arm. It's kind of, I don't have any complaints about him. He's an all-star, and he's also, he's both the system quarterback and somebody who'll move the change. He's everything right now.
He also has thrown fewer incompletions than he is responsible for touchdowns in 3 games. 13 touchdowns this man is responsible for. He's thrown 11 incompletions in 3 games. He's averaging 302.9 yards passing per game. The offensive line has not been outstanding at Ohio State to start. Neither has the run game. Secondary still needs some work, but Justin Fields does not. I think it's because so many people talked themselves into Trevor Lawrence after 2018 that they're afraid to do some homework and to reevaluate their positions. Because if I'm the Jets, I'm not even sure that I want to take Justin Fields at 1. I do think I would want to trade out of 1 because I can take a Kyle Trask. I can take a Mac Jones. So I don't understand why all the folks in the chat up in here talking about Zach Wilson. Oh, my God. It's like talking about Ty Detmer all over again. Anyway. That's what it is. You ain't talking about Steve Young. You talking about Ty Detmer. You talking about a dude I can get in the 5th. You know, ain't nobody going to snatch no Zach Wilson up before no 3rd round. Stop that. Mac Jones, Kyle Trask are going to be there. But the thing about Kyle Trask, though, is that man couldn't even start on his own high school team. Now, his quarterback in front of him is De'Aaron King, but you get my point here, right? You got to be good. So why aren't we talking about De'Aaron King, perhaps, as a QB1? We talk about Trey Lance in that way. Like, I make this point last week, and I'll make it again. So, Trey Lance is supposed to be a first-round draft pick coming out of NDSU, right? You know who played against him in the national championship game last year in January? Ben DiNucci. Ben DiNucci was a 7th-round pick by my Dallas Cowboys, and he got towed up last Sunday. I'm saying the margins are that thin. That's all. They're that thin.
Oh, well, I mean, that's how I feel whenever you brought up Zach Wilson's. Like, yeah, I mean, I can't say he's not doing well, but is he a DiNucci? Or is he Cam Newton? Where is he? Russell Wilson? Who knows? Margins very thin.
So Alex Zam getting in here with the $5 super chat. Clemson fan from birth, but I take Fields over Lawrence. Lawrence would be better at a team like the Patriots or Tampa. Jets focus on the offensive line. Tampa. I watched some of that game last night. I don't know what Tampa's going to turn out to be. They're 6-3. Saints are 6-2. But, like, you have Antonio Brown. You have Mike Evans. You have Rob Gronkowski. You have Leonard Fournette. You ought to score a touchdown. A touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown with Tom Brady at quarterback. I'm not sure who needs to be at Tampa, but I wouldn't want to put one of those dudes over there. Though they do have an offensive line, so that would be a great point there, right? If your point is the offensive line, Tampa's got like one of the only offensive line units that has made it intact throughout the first half of the season, which is wild. But also they got Tristan Wirfs out there at right tackle, who is a freak of nature. This is one of those 4'8", 40-yard, 330-pound offensive lineman dudes coming out of Iowa. This is one of them dudes. One of these Lane Johnson type cats just putting up these stupid combine numbers. But the Jets need an offensive lineman. They need several offensive linemen. They probably need to move off of Mr. Forehead, Sam Darnold. He's not even going to play tonight against the Patriots, right? As we're streaming this on a Monday afternoon. The Patriots probably going to take a quarterback, but is it going to be a Mac Jones or a Kyle Trask? I don't know, because they took a Jarrett Stidham, and that ain't working out too well. That's the thing. I'm going to draft Justin Fields if I know I absolutely 100% need a quarterback. Because I have the best opportunity of winning games that I'm going to lose with Justin Fields. In the same way that I would draft Kyler Murray at number 1. Kyler Murray was destroying Miami in a loss yesterday, but still running all over people. That's what he does. He can take a busted play and turn it into a first down, turn it into a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence doesn't actually do that with any sort of regularity.
That's what I was about to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go jump in there.
Like if as we talk about quarterbacks who at the next level, who would you choose? Justin Fields is somebody that I feel like I could start for any team, regardless of how bad they are, how disorganized the organization is, and he would put up numbers that would look promising. Might not win you immediately, but I will absolutely show you that. Like think of Andrew Luck, right? Andrew Luck showed up. It's like, oh well, they're not going to win any games, but Andrew Luck, dude's a boss. I don't see that out of Trevor Lawrence. Not to say that, and whenever somebody says, you know what he would be great at, it would be holding a clipboard behind a Hall of Famer for an established franchise that has a great offensive system. Like you're giving a quarterback a lot of room there. If that's the case, say if you were the Patriots or as he said, the Tampa Bay, why would you? I mean, would you choose Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields? Because Justin Fields is going to – I feel that Justin Fields, no matter how bad the team is, he's going to show up, give you 3,800, 20 touchdowns, 20 picks, and say, all right, cool, we can build on this.
It's also about accuracy. Like, this is the reason that Baker was number 1 overall draft pick. He could hit a shoebox from 50 yards away on the run. He doesn't seem to be able to do that anymore for whatever reason. Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence can put the ball where it's going to be. All right, cool. They're both more than capable leaders. All right, cool. What's going to differentiate them? Well, Justin Fields is 6'3", right? About 220 because he's vegan now. You know what I mean? He on the plant-based diet, want to get his weight right. And Trevor Lawrence about 6'6", about 230, right? Sunshine looked like he getting it in. Looked like the picture of what you might want for a quarterback in 2001, Tom Brady, right? I look at Fields and I say, perhaps you could sit behind the Detroit Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford for a year, provided they get a different head coach, and I hope that they will. But more than that, I would love for you to sit behind maybe Matt Ryan. Maybe you trade for another veteran because 49ers need a quarterback, for instance. And then you let Eric Bieniemy take over the Atlanta Falcons and give the reins to Justin Fields, a native of Georgia, grew up in an Atlanta suburb, Kennesaw, right? Let the Dirty Birds have a quarterback that's worth a damn. And you know me, I'm partial to dudes that play baseball. That man's baseball, he could have been an outstanding MLB prospect. I don't know that he projects at shortstop in the major leagues. Probably more left field, right field, power hitting. But hand-eye coordination is elite. And I love dudes that played several different sports and had an opportunity to play professional sports in more than one. So I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence at 2 if he's still there. Take Justin Fields at 1. From the Jets, I'm trading out of it going, somebody give me picks. Give me all the picks because we're trash. Because Greg Williams has demolished my defense. We traded away Jamal Adams, who's the best player on the damn team. Adam Gase is on his way out, if not already. I feel like Adam Gase is that dude that is 100% trying to get fired, and they just won't do it. I don't blame him for that. So then there's Mac Jones and Kyle Trask, and on it goes. Who else needs a quarterback? Because I also have this thought. The Packers drafted Jordan Love, if for no other reason than to piss off Aaron Rodgers, and it's working because he's playing outstanding football, right? He plays great football when he's mad. Well, in a couple of years, you can move Jordan Love, and you can draft another quarterback until you find the right one that fits. What's wrong with that as a strategy? What's wrong with, hey, we drafted Baker Mayfield. We let him play out the length of his contract. We're going to draft another quarterback because it ain't working out. Tampa Bay just decided to go get Tom Brady because he was there and not re-sign Jameis Winston. But I feel like they would have been in a position to go draft a quarterback because they did trade for Josh Rosen. He's on the squad. He's just not, on the 53-man.
It's smart business. The NFL is just be a fine quarterback. If you show up with promise to be good, you have to be good within a certain amount of time, or else we just can't continue to pay you, because being okay doesn't win you in any playoff games. It doesn't do much for you unless you are somebody that's selling a ton of jerseys and changing the culture. You can't do it. So 3 contracts up, goodbye, thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna change the culture every 3 years? Is that what you're gonna do? That's the other argument against it. Oh wow, all right.
Well, you see, you've seen the Cleveland Browns jersey that has all the names going from top to bottom, and that's 40. You gotta take a chance.
All right, so Alakazam getting back in here, not trying to make this a Clemson show. Sorry, but I just feel Trevor Lawrence can start anywhere in the NFL, but I feel he's a Pats quarterback. Will the Pats trade up to get him? No, they won't, because they don't have any assets to trade to go get him with. They're also strapped for money. And 2, he can't play anywhere. Nobody can just play anywhere. All right, cool. He can play anywhere. Throw him on the Jets then. Yeah, because all it takes is a quarterback, like hell. He can't just play in New York either. The Giants, they need a quarterback. They locked themselves into Daniel Jones. I can think of a number of other places I don't know why we continue to talk ourselves into, as college football fans, our guy can play anywhere and do anything. No. There's a reason why Eli Manning looked at San Diego and said, not on your life, buddy. Not on your life.
Hey,
you draft me, I will refuse to go.
I sent you that picture, a picture this weekend of all the old football cards that I found. I've had them in the plastic sleeves, and trust me, you would look at those names like, oh, that dude was cold at K-State. Oh, that dude was amazing at Bowling Green. I can't believe this dude at Houston didn't make it. Like that's kind of.
And then you look up and you be like,
NFL's tough.
Kareem Hunt out of Toledo? That dude? You know, you do that a lot, right? Deontay Harris went to high school or went to college where? You know, we do that all the time. Where did Antonio Brown go to college? Just pop quiz. I memorized it. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Central friggin' Michigan. You know what I mean? Like it just happens for some dudes. And we're almost disappointed when it happens the way that we want it to happen. Right? Which is that dude that went to Alabama is cold. Right? Dude that went to Oklahoma is cold. Which gets me into the Oklahoma segment of the show. Because you know I was going to get to the Oklahoma segment of the show. So I wrote this piece on OUinsider.com that you should go read. Basically getting at this idea that November is for Lincoln Riley. Since Lincoln Riley took over as the head coach of Oklahoma in 2017, the Sooners have never lost in the month of November, and they're off to a 1-0 start to begin this 2020 November. They're also undefeated in the Riley era against Kansas, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. Their last 5 games are Texas Tech, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, West Virginia. They have 2 losses in the Big 12, which normally would mean that you're not playing for a Big 12 championship. But because the Big 12 continues to be just as trash as Oklahoma State beat Kansas State last week 20-18. So they got 2 losses. Oklahoma State got the 1 loss against Texas. They play Oklahoma in 2 weeks. Iowa State's sitting there pretty, right? And yet they can still lose a game. But if Oklahoma were to beat Oklahoma State, they have the head-to-head against Oklahoma State, and they get in the Big 12 championship game against Iowa State with the return of Ramondre Stevenson, who was missing half the season due to suspension and has basically become RB1 over the last 2 games, and Ronnie Perkins, who was one of your leading sack leaders last year. And then the second game he comes back, they go for 9 sacks at Kansas, albeit Kansas, tying a school record because Oklahoma just can't get 10 sacks, always just got to get 9. And they've got 20 sacks the last 4 games. They've got 26 in 7 games. And all of a sudden, the defense is not just coming together on the front end, but on the back end too. They got 6 interceptions, in the last 4 games. 2 against Texas, 2 against Texas Tech, 2 against Kansas. So when you need the defense, start figuring it out. When you need the offense to continue to produce with the run game, they do that. And then when Spencer Rattler and Austin Stogner get bone bruises that hamper them in the second half, so much so that Austin Stogner didn't play in the second half, Spencer Rattler was out there limping around, gimping around in the second half, that you get a bye week to prepare for the biggest and most tough schedule, or toughest team on your schedule in Oklahoma State. And Mike Gundy is stubborn, so he's going to keep throwing Spencer Sanders back there, who's going to keep putting the ball on the ground. Look, I looked up the stats for Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and I looked at Will Howard, who was replacing Skylar Thompson, who ran for more yards than he threw for, and he only threw for like 123. He still passed for more yards than Spencer Sanders. So that dude, coming off of like 340 against Texas, can't move the ball at all against Kansas and put the ball on the ground. Like, put Shane Illingworth in there, dog. Like, what are we doing? Why is he this stubborn? But you know what? I hope he's still this stubborn when they play Oklahoma at Owen Field on primetime on ABC 2 weeks from now, November 21st. Because that's going to be everything that Oklahoma wanted. It's just everything falls into place for OU in November. It's sickening if it wasn't so cool. Two losses, you go play the Big 12 championship game. Who does that in game regular season?
Oh, man, parity is a hell of a drug. It's the strength of the conference, baby. I absolutely need to see Iowa State continue to roll the rest of the conference and look at their one Sun Belt loss. That's what I...
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because that's my Coastal Carolina argument for making the playoff. If Coastal Carolina runs the table undefeated, wins Sun Belt championship, right? And it comes down to them and like a 2-loss Clemson, 1 loss Florida, 2 lost Florida because they already lost to A&M. No, so they're not going to be there. Yeah. Oh, snap. So we're looking at Cincinnati, undefeated, or undefeated Coastal Carolina. BYU and Liberty, I'm just going to kick them to the side right quick. Coastal Carolina's going to be like, yo, we beat a Big 12 team. Kansas. We beat a Big 12 team. Kansas. Well, everybody else in our conference beat a Big 12 team. You know what? Damn it. You right. Like, ULL is ranked. They beat Iowa State. Yeah. Can't say they're not. Kansas State was going to play in the Big 12 championship. They beat Oklahoma. They got whooped by Arkansas State. Chanticleers, here's the 4th playoff spot. I'm so here for this. Like, let Coastal Carolina match up against the number 1 Alabama.
Oh, watch it be a slobber knocker. Watch it be something like 40-41, double OT. I'm not going to call who wins, but I want to see it.
Meanwhile, Oklahoma gets the bid to the Cotton Bowl New Year's 6. They get, let's say, ampersand U, right, in the Cotton Bowl. And then they run ampersand U 56-7. And you're not going to hear anything but Oklahoma fans saying, we should have been in the playoff this year. We didn't lose to a Sun Belt team. We lost to teams that lost to Sun Belt teams. And we ran roughshod over A&M. And then everybody's going to look at that and be like, yo, didn't Alabama beat A&M like 52-14, 52-17?
I mean, at that point, we could say our long-suffering college football nightmare is over and we can forget about it for the... if anybody catches feelings about this year, I'm not going to say I'll slap the taste out of their mouth, but I'll be very close.
No, and I want to finish on this point because, like, Bud Elliott actually brought this point up on Twitter, and it was, look, I think we know which teams are good and which teams are not, but what the hell does this season even mean? Like, how are we actually going to try to put this season into context with any other season at all? And, you know, the lazy thing to do is going to be to throw it out altogether. You can't do that because college football in and of itself is weird. We were just talking about a Holiday Bowl deciding a national champion. What? On what planet? This one.
I mean, so do we go back to World War II? Is that what we do? We go back to the late 30s, early 40s?
Like, I try to take it back to the AP poll era, 1936, but even that, World War II happened, right? And I keep running into, that dude played football at Iowa Pre-Flight. I'm like, was Iowa Pre-Flight good that year? And turns out they weren't bad that year, right? Like, that's what it is. I don't know what we're going to say about this except one thing, perhaps. Alabama is going to be good with Nick Saban as its head coach come hell, Armageddon, pandemic, because that's just what they have done. Like, I keep trying to put this into context and people keep missing it. Remember how good Tua Tagovailoa was to start his career. Mac Jones is better. Statistically and without the same level of talent at wide receiver. Now, Devontae Smith is good, and I believe John Mechie's good, and I know Slade Belden is good, and he lost Jalen Waddle, right? Last year, Tagovailoa had Henry Ruggs, first-round pick, Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick, Jalen Waddle, gonna be a first-round pick, Najee Harris in the backfield, right? This year, you got Najee. You ain't got anybody behind Najee, right? You think it's Brian Robinson, but we don't know, right? I haven't seen Trey Sanders. You don't have the offensive line that was just destructive as all hell last year. And they were good. They were really good. They were really good. How does Mac Jones put together a better season? And knowing that this is about, what we've seen from Mac Jones in the COVID, right? In the era of everybody having to do more with less. How do you not make Mac Jones into a, top 5 draft pick the way that Tua Tagovailoa into a top 5 draft pick? I'd also add that the man's right-handed, which I think matters in as far as picking your right and left tackles.
Yeah, that absolutely makes you a much more attractive quarterback. I don't know. I want to keep an eye on Mac Jones.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like Kyle Trask put up the second highest total of passing yards in a game by a Florida quarterback. Most ever against the Kirby Smart defense at Georgia. Do you know who put up the most? I'm dead serious because the first person that came to my mind was Danny Werfel, and that's not true.
Tim Tebow.
Yeah. Steve Adazio let Tim Tebow throw the ball so many times he went for 482 in 2010 in Sugar Bowl. Like, what?
Yeah.
By the way, I think that was a Brian Kelly.
Tim Tebow was a good college football quarterback, so I just got to throw that out there.
Like saying Sam Ehlinger is a good college football quarterback. He's good. He's not great.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you don't need to catch salt about that if it's true.
Ooh, somebody says Mac Jones is another A.J. McCarron. I'm going, no, he's 3 times the quarterback A.J. McCarron was.
Like the stats are unbelievable. The last 4 or 5 years of quarterbacks that are Heisman level have been putting up beyond video game numbers, like unbelievable. Mac Jones's are phenomenal. I could not even begin to compare him to A.J. McCarron or any of the other 3-name Alabama quarterbacks.
12 times the quarterback Greg McElroy was. 1.5 times better than Blake Sims, who I thought was the pinnacle of Alabama quarterback until Tagovailoa appeared. And you know what? I'm going to say that he's 1.5 times better than Tua Tagovailoa. Why? Because he ain't hurt half the season. That's why. Because both his ankles are intact. Doesn't have to have the hold me closer tiny dancer ankle surgery to get back out there and make it do what it do. Right? Mac Jones is like, nah, I'm a 3-star quarterback from nothing, from nowhere. We ran option where I was at. Watch me now. I got the 5-star number 1 quarterback on the bench. Or number 2 quarterback to me. But 5-star quarterback on the bench. He's not getting no looks. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence out here catching COVID. I'm in Alabama. How do I not catch COVID in Alabama and that man catches COVID in South Carolina? I'd be flexing so hard in Trevor Lawrence's direction if I was Mac Jones. Flexing so hard. You know, it's like this thing at LSU. They don't give a damn about no COVID, right? They don't care. You know, especially now that they not very good. Especially that they not very good. Meanwhile, Mac Jones is like, nah, I've been walking around in bubble wrap. I've outlasted Ben Carson. Okay? Like, look at Rod. Rod rubbing his face. Like, I'm making a list of all the people that have outlasted, right? That's the thing. The list of people that have caught this. And then the president goes to the hospital. You're playing college football that weekend. Even staying on University of Alabama campus, where they demonstrated we don't care about no COVID. You remember the pictures of them? Look like a mosh pit with Rush Week. Mac Jones was able to make it through that. You know? Like, I'm talking myself into Mac Jones. I'm talking myself into him. Because at the beginning of preseason, it's like, yeah, Mac has to play within himself to be good. And I was going, oh, no. This looks like Nick Saban's got another game manager.
But if your game manager is just nothing but explosion plays, like that's the kicker. It'd be different if he was like all the other like pre-Blake Sims quarterbacks. Well, he just ain't that. You look at the tape, he ain't that. But on the flip side, like he ain't no Cam Newton. Yeah. that's the thing that's kind of throwing me off. Like at least everybody before this was electrifying.
Right.
Mac Jones is just putting up stats.
He's not no Justin Fields. And matter of fact, let me get this in here because I think Caleb Worku. I hope that's your real last name because that's code. He brings up a good point. What if Florida beats Alabama in the SEC championship game? Right? Alabama's getting in. That would be your 1-loss SEC team without an SEC title to get in. Florida gets in. You would think, right? Who gets bumped out? Wouldn't be Ohio State. They be in. They might be the number 1 team in that scenario, right? Then you're looking at Notre Dame, Clemson going, yeah, guys, guess we're going to have to take the ACC champ and only the ACC champ. Notre Dame be so pissed. Like, they lost that game and they didn't get in the playoffs.
Found it. Like all the polling coverage that we saw this week, there's a pathway for SC.
Oh, that's cold. That is Ron Taylor. It's my best friend. Joins me every Monday to talk through whatever the hell it is we're going to talk through here on the RJ Young Show podcast. Please download the podcast wherever it is you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star review. We are marching toward 300 reviews. If everybody that watched this stream just went to the podcast link and dropped a 5-star review, we would be near 500 reviews, 500 ratings. Like, help me, help you make more content. check out this piece that I wrote on foxsports.com about DJ Uiagalelei and the video I made over CFB on Fox about Uiagalelei. And I will see y'all in a couple of hours. Probably going to play some what I read on Wednesday because I'm like halfway through this ginormous Henry Aaron biography that Howard Bryant wrote that is really, well, interesting and also kind of rounds out a character that we all know but don't nobody know. And that's kind of the point. Yeah, rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. Deuces.